everybody, I hope you're doing well today. I hope you all have had a great start to 2019 and had a very nice January. It has been super cold here, but this week we are going to have temperatures in the 70s, so I'm super excited to have warmer weather, and I'm definitely looking forward to consistent warmer weather as we move into spring. Today I have my January 2019 candle wax and random empties to share with you. It really has been a fantastic month overall. My overall scent theme was minty scents, vanilla, and still some wintry scents, and I really enjoyed it. As with all of my empties videos, I'm going to start with the random bits first, body care, hand soaps, and then move into the wax melts and then into the candles. If you're only interested in a particular portion of the video, I will link the timestamp below so you can click on the timestamp and jump to the portion of the video that you're interested in. As I do have quite a bit here, I'm going to jump right in. So if you're interested in hearing about what I melted, used, and burned in January, let's get started. We finished 3 hand soaps this month. And the first one we finished was this Gentle Exfoliating Winter Citrus Wreath. I really enjoyed this scent. I had it in my kitchen. It smells very, very similar to the Bath & Body Works candle scent Winter. So you get that crisp, wintry vibe. And as I mentioned, I really enjoy the exfoliating hand soaps. Would definitely repurchase this scent in this form. We also finished this Twisted Peppermint Gentle Exfoliating hand soap. It smells just like the Body Care, mentholated, refreshing peppermint scent. And again, love this exfoliating form. And the last hand soap we finished is this Snow Cap Mountain Gentle Exfoliating hand soap. This one smelled of fig, which has a very distinct sweet, fruity kind of smell. It also has a bit of a freshness to it. It was a very unique and different kind of scent, and I ended up really enjoying it. It sort of reminded me of like Napa Valley Sunset, sort of in the same family as that scent. So if I found another one of these, I would also repurchase it. My grandmother actually finished this shower gel in the Love Rose and Vanilla. She really, really likes this scent a lot. I picked her up several for Christmas, and when she would get out of the shower in the evenings, I could actually still smell this scent on her. So it definitely lingered on her skin, which I thought was nice. And then my partner finished the C.O. Bigelow Sea Salt Mimosa body wash that I had picked up, I think a couple years ago at semi-annual sale. They were like 75% off. This was a really nice, fresh, but slightly woody scent. I finished this body lotion in Winter Candy Apple. I think this packaging is from what, 2013 maybe. It's from several years ago. Finally finished it up, trying to get rid of some of my older body care and just like focus on finishing up some of like the pieces of bottles that I have. Of course, this is a classic winter scent from Bath & Body Works, and I do enjoy it every year. I finished this body cream in Twisted Peppermint. I love the packaging that they used this year. I really thought this size was great because I didn't want a full-size tube of the body cream because I knew I wouldn't get through it in like December and January. But this small tube was actually perfect, not only to use as hand cream, but just after the shower as well. I finished this Bath & Body Works Sugar Scrub in Sugar Plum Swirl. This is a Shea and Sparkle Scrub. I think this is from a couple years ago. This was just okay. The scent itself was fruity, kind of somewhat generic, you know, sugar plum kind of scent. Wasn't my favorite, and I didn't feel like the scrub itself was exfoliating enough. Probably wouldn't repurchase it again unless it was in a scent that I really, really loved. I finished this scrub in the Bathing Garden Salted Peppermint. This scent was absolutely amazing, and I've actually already repurchased it. The saltiness of this scrub, like mixed with the peppermint, was just so refreshing, and I just love this scent a lot more than I even thought that I would. I also felt like maybe because of the additional salt in this, it was like extra exfoliating, which I really need this time of year when the weather is so cold and we've got the heat running all the time. My skin is just so dry. So highly recommend this if you like your peppermint scents. And I finished this sample size scrub in the Bathing Gardens Pink Fizz. This was a really nice, fruity, slightly like effervescent kind of scent. Great to kind of end January and kick off February. As I've said a lot of times, I absolutely love her scrubs. I just think they're some of the best out there. I don't normally include my Lush products, but I started thinking, why don't I? Like, why don't I talk to y'all about the bath bombs and stuff I use? So let me know in the comments below if that's something you would like me to start doing. I probably go through like maybe 3 bath bombs a month, so it's not an exorbitant amount, but if y'all would like to hear about those, let me know if you'd be interested or if you would just prefer me to leave those out. I did finish this bath oil in Dreamtime. This is the Twilight scent, but heavier on the lavender, which I love any kind of lavender scent. I've used a couple of the bath oils now and I really like them. I don't tend to use them by themselves. I combine them with the bath bomb. I do love that extra kind of layer of smoothness that the oil gives my skin. but it does make your bathtub really slippery, so just be careful of that. I did use the Lush Bath Bomb in Cherry Christmas, which was a nice kind of cherry, fruity scent. I really enjoyed this one a lot. It was really pretty colors in the bathtub, so I would get this again if they were to bring it back next year. I finished 4 Wallflowers this month. The first one was Crushed Candy Cane. This was a nice sweetened candy cane kind of scent. This Wallflower bulb stopped about the halfway point though, and then a Twisted Peppermint, which also stopped a little past the halfway point. And then I finished a Champagne Toast, which was really nice, strong scent, and the bulb completely finished. And then Merry Mimosa, which is doing very well. It's past the halfway point, still going strong. It is a very similar scent to Aloha Kiwi Passion Fruit, so really nice fruity scent to end January. And that is all of the random bits I finished in January. I will move right along to the wax melts. I got through a lot of wax melts this month and quite happy about that. So many great scents that I was able to use up. Minty, vanilla, and some winter scents. It was really nice. The first melt I finished is the Bathing Gardens Ghost of Christmas Past. This is balsam and cedar. This was really enjoyable. The cedar brought this nice sweetness to the blend, so it wasn't super heavy or astringent. It was actually quite refreshing. The strength and throw was like an 8.5 for the shape in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this Bath & Body Works melt in winter. Of course, this is the classic scent. Pine needles, sparkling clementine, spice clove. The strength and throw was about a 7.5 or half of the melt in my bulb warmer and half of the melt in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I had it in 2 different warmers in the same room, and it lasted about 7+ hours, so pretty decent on that. I finished this clamshell in the Bathing Gardens Russian Ice Bath. This one is peppermint, menthol, spearmint, lemon, eucalyptus, and vanilla. This is a mentholated, sinus opening, minty blend, sort of palate cleansing. It was really nice sort of after all of the heavier, spicier Christmas tree and holiday scents to melt this beginning of January and sort of just like cleanse the house in a way. The strength and throw is about a 7.5 for 1 cube in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this 4-pack in Destination Wax's Sugarcane and Mint. This is a sweetened mint scent. The strength and throw was about a 6 for 1 cube in my 24-watt hot plate warmer. I remember this being stronger when I melted it like last year. I had about 2 cubes left of this, and so it is over 2 years old at this point. I think it has degraded just a little bit, but considering that it is that old, I'm still impressed with the strength and throw that I did get from it. I finished this 4-pack block in Destination Wax's Candy Cane Extra. This is an extra minty candy cane kind of scent. You got extra peppermint, spearmint, vanilla, a little bit of strawberries, but comparing it to her candy cane scent, this one is like extra mint. The strength and throw is about a 6.5 for 1 cube or a little less than 1 cube in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this shape in Vintage Chic Scents I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. This is warm cookie bars, cherry chips, and cranberries. This scent was too sweet for me, and it was most likely the cherry that was causing this like odd sweetness that I just couldn't handle. I liked it on cold sniff, and then when I melted it, I kind of liked it at first, and then it just got really cloying for me. So I didn't end up loving this one, but I was able to get through it. This one was super strong, like a strength and throw of a 9 for a small chunk of the shape in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this chunk in Sassy Girl Aroma's Spearmint Noel. This was a creamy spearmint scent. You got that vanilla bean Noel mixed with that nice spearmint. I enjoyed it. The strength and throw is about a 6.5 for the chunk in my 24-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this mini melter sampler in RoseGirls Vanilla Bean Noel. This is a spot on dupe of the Bath & Body Works scent. Creamy, wonderful, yummy vanilla scent. Very nice blender. The strength and throw was about a 6.5 for 1 mini melter in my Scentsy Accord warmer. The next melt I finished is this Purple Fox's Ghost of Christmas Past. This is Christmas trees and snow-filled lot outside of your favorite country store baking fresh sugar cookies. This scent was just so-so for me. There were times that I liked it and then times that I didn't. There was something in this blend that reminded me of pink sugar. Maybe it actually has pink sugar in it. There was almost like that kind of pink peppermint kind of note in there where you have the pink sugar mixed with the peppermint, and it wasn't my favorite. It also reminded me of the Vintage Chic Scents Christmas Time Is Here scent, so they may be the actual same scent. The strength and throw was about an 8.5, so it was quite strong for a small chunk in my 20-watt hot plate warmer or my Scentsy Accord warmer. So if you like those kind of scents and you don't mind like a bit of pink sugar, then you might really like this one. It was very strong. I finished this potion pack in Super Tarts Twisted Peppermint. This one was quite old, and I'm actually happy that this month I was able to get through some of my older wax. It was an okay dupe, but there was this odd undertone that would come out when I melted it that I didn't prefer. The shapes in this were super cute. There was like a little dinosaur, a Pop-Tart. It was really cute, and I did finish it, but it was this kind of odd undertone that I wasn't a fan of. So if I got her potion packs again, I would probably try to melt them sooner rather than later. The strength and throw was about an 8.5 for a small piece in my 20 watt hot plate warmer. I didn't quite finish, but I am done with this melt in Better Homes and Gardens Christmas Morning Latte. This is a creamy, spicy scent. The problem I had with it is that it stained my warmers so badly. Like, I'm used to Better Homes and Garden and even Sensational staining my warmers sometime, but this one was particularly bad, and I had to like really scrub with an alcohol wipe to get it out, and so I just didn't feel like dealing with it. The scent wasn't worth it, in my opinion, to deal with that mess, so I'm not going to finish it. I'm just going to chunk it. The strength and throw was about a 7.5 for 1 cube in my bulb warmer. I finished these Blender Sticks and Sassy Girl Aromas gingerbread. I didn't want to carry these over for next year, and I had like one left that I've been melting this in like November and December. This was a nice spicy gingerbread, more spicy, not very much bakery. The strength and throw was about a 5 for like a little over a half of the Blender Stick. I finished this 4-pack in Destination Wax's Sugar Vanilla Champagne. I absolutely love this scent. It is effervescent and bubbly without being like fizzy and harsh. So you get that effervescent bubbly champagne with this really wonderful sweet sugary vanilla, and I just think it's absolutely amazing. I love the scent, especially around New Year's Eve. I think it's just great for the 1st of January. It is so good. The strength and throw is about an 8 for 1 cube in my 24 watt hot plate warmer, and I would definitely be repurchasing this one for next year. I finished this clam in the Bathing Gardens Candy Cane Blizzard. This one is frosty air and frozen snow blends with candy canes. This one was very fresh. By the name, I didn't expect it to be super fresh, but it really was very fresh. You got that ozone note that reminded you of like fresh air, crisp air kind of note. You got hints of the candy cane and the peppermint, but the fresh vibes and the ozone notes were definitely dominant, followed by just a little bit of that candy cane. Really enjoyed this one a lot. The strength and throw was about a 6.5 for 1 cube in my bulb warmer, and about a 7.5 for 1 cube in my 20 watt hot plate warmer. I would definitely get this one again next year. The next melt I finished is this Goose Creek's Christmas Magic. I love the picture on this one. I just think it's so festive. This one is creamy candy canes and a really nice amount of vanilla. I also pick up what comes across to me is like some kind of bakery note. Not really cookies, but sort of, but it's mostly this really creamy vanilla candy cane sweetened peppermint kind of scent with just a little bit of something that seems like bakery that comes across in the background. The strength and throw is about a 7 for 1 cube in my Scentsy Accord warmer, and about an 8 for 2 cubes in my 20 watt hot plate warmer. I would get this again next year. I finished this pumpkin shape in the Bathing Gardens Wolfbane Bites. This one is rich holiday cookies, butter, and Moroccan mint. I really like this one on cold sniff, but I did not like it warm at all. There was something about it that did just not sit well with my nose. Like, it just hit my nose wrong, and it was just too sweet maybe. I'm not sure, but I couldn't even like finish it. I think it melted about halfway, and I was like, nope, gotta get rid of this. It was super strong though, of course, because any scent I don't like is gonna be super strong. It was about an 8 for the shape in my 20 watt hot plate warmer. I finished this wax melt in Kringle's Coconut Snowflake. I love the label on this one. This one is a nutty coconut vanilla scent. There's a hint of peppermint in it as well. It was actually really nice, and I enjoyed it a lot more warm than I did on cold sniff. You think kind of coconut doesn't really make sense in the winter, but the coconut was more of like a toasted bakery kind of coconut and not a coconut that you associate with summer, and there was this really nice nuttiness about it. So really like this one a lot. It was actually quite strong as well, which I wasn't expecting. It was about a strength and throw of about a 7 for half of the melt in my 20 watt hot plate warmer, so quite impressed with that. I finished the Scent Shot in Destination Wax's Juicy Fruit Gum. You can see the date on this one. I've had it for a while. This was actually in my very first order from Destination Wax, I'm pretty sure. It says there's an elusive hint of cinnamon. And when I smelled it on cold sniff in my original haul, like the cinnamon came across quite strongly to me. And I think that's why I did not melt it right away. I had a lot of other scents I wanted to melt, and I'm a seasonal burner, so sometimes I'll just put things aside, and then as I'm going through and picking out my scents, I just don't get back to a particular scent. So I was like, I've got to melt this. I need to. My goodness, it's from 2017. And this is the kind of scent that I'm like, why in the world did I wait so long to melt this? Because it was so good. Like, super authentic when it was melting. The cinnamon definitely was not dominant when it was melting, and it legitimately smelled like I was walking through into like a juicy fruit bubble, because it just smelled so juicy and delicious and fruity and fantastic. I actually already reordered this at her most recent restocked because I wanted more of it. Delicious. The strength and throw was an 8 for half of the scent shot in my 24 hot plate warmer. If you like juicy fruit gum, definitely give this one a try. And I think this again just proves to me yet again that it's so important to melt a scent before you pass final judgment, because a lot of times what we smell in cold sniff is not going to be the same when it warms up. And I know this lesson, and this just again reinforces that lesson to myself. And so I thought I'd remind you all of that as well. I finished this mini melter sampler in the RoseGirls cupcake. This is a yellow battered cupcake. Not much icing at all. It's more of that actual cake part of the cupcake. It's nice. It's just okay for me though personally. The strength and throw is about a 6.5 for 1 mini melter in my Scentsy Accord warmer. I finished this flower cake in Destination Wax's Vanilla Snowflake. This is creamy vanilla and warm woods sweetened with a dash of coconut, Bath & Body Works type. And this is a spot-on dupe to the Bath & Body Works scent. I absolutely love it. It's just such a nice creamy vanilla scent, and it's just that coconut adds just something a little bit different. It's not dominant at all in my opinion. It's just really something that kind of blends together and comes through the background. Love it so much. The strength and throw is about a 7.5 for a small chunk in my 24 watt hot plate warmer, and definitely this is one that I'll repurchase and have repurchased. I finished these heart shapes in the Purple Fox's Snow Cream. This is spearmint and vanilla cream, and this one is so good. There's a lot of vendors that do spearmint and vanilla or spearmint and marshmallow. It's a very common blend, but this one was particularly good for me. It was a super creamy spearmint and a nice amount of the vanilla. So the spearmint a lot of times can override the vanilla, and it can come across as like a spearmint gum, which is fine. I like that. But this really had this like special creaminess. So it almost had this like creamy vanilla ice cream kind of vibe with the spearmint, and I really enjoyed it a lot. The strength and throw is about a 7.5 for a small chunk in my 20 watt hot plate warmer. I finished this Purple Fox Oh My Santa. This is frosted sugar cookies with vanilla frosting and vanilla bean Noel. A really nice bakery scent, sugar cookie and frosting. Quite balanced, I would say. Not overly sweet though, which I really appreciated. Just really nice to go along with all the mint scents, and really I could see melting this any time of year. The strength and throw is about a 7 in my 20 watt hot plate warmer. I finished this 8-pack block in Destination Wax's Frozen Clementine. This is her frozen scent, which is a cold menthol scent with eucalyptus and peppermint mixed with clementine, orange, grapefruit, lemon, tangerine, a lot of citrusy notes. So it's a nice citrus with that mentholated, sinus opening, cooling kind of scent. It sort of reminds me of like a sinus soother kind of scent, Vicks Vapor Rub kind of scent. It's not a dupe of that, but it's in that family, and I really love it for winter and this time of year. The strength and throw was about an 8 for 1 block, split between my 24 watt and my 20 watt hot plate warmers, and I would definitely get this one again next winter. I finished this clam in Barrett Wax Crafts Peppermint Vanilla Dream. This one is a creamy, slightly sweetened, twisted peppermint kind of scent, but the creaminess of it comes through a lot more when it's melting than it does on cold sniff in my opinion. Really nice blend. The strength and throw is about a 7.5 for 1 cube in my bulb warmer. I finished this melt in Kringle's Cozy Cabin. This is brown sugar, vanilla, and cinnamon accords. To me, it had a lot of like a smoky vibe, like not necessarily like a fireplace or fireside kind of scent, but almost like this sort of liquid smoke kind of vibe that came through. This one was too sweet and cloying for me. Like, I guess it was the brown sugar that came through really strongly, and just something about the combination I wasn't a huge fan of when it was melting. It was really strong though. The strength and throw about a 9 for half of the scent shot in my 24 hot plate warmer, and it was actually like just because I didn't like the scent, of course it was too strong for me. But if you like those kind of scents, I know a lot of people really like this one. It just wasn't for me personally. I finished this clam in the Bathing Gardens Crystallized Spearmint and Peppermint. This is an awesome blend and a really like perfect balance of that sweet spearmint and then the cooling peppermint and just the right amount of like sugary sweetness. So it just came together beautifully. The strength and throw is about a 7.5 for 1 cube in my bulb warmer. I finished this 4-pack mini melter sampler of RoseGirls Peppermint. This is a very cooling, sinus opening, mentholated, sort of pure peppermint scent. A lot of people rave about her peppermint. It is very pure and similar-ish to like the peppermint essential oil that you would get, so it was quite nice. The strength and throw is about a 6.5 for 1 mini melter in my Scentsy Accord warmer. I finished this shape in the Bathing Gardens Winter Blues. This is blue sugar type, and it smelled like blue sugar, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I can tolerate it sometimes. The strength and throw is about an 8 for this shape in my 20 watt hot plate warmer. I finished this shape in the Bathing Gardens Bring Me the Frost. This is Fresh Snow, Ozone, and Frozen Air. This is very fresh, refreshing, almost kind of clean. Very clean and fresh. It's in the same family as Zeep's Baby It's Cold Outside. If you've tried that one, they're not the same, but it's in that same family. The Strength and Throw was an 8 for the shape in my 20-watt hot plate warmer, and I would get this one again. I finished this 4-pack coin in Vintage Chic Scents Picture Window Tree. This is Warm Mittens, Melting Snow, Crisp Mistletoe, and Musky Woods. This is in my top 18 vendor wax scents of 2018. It is absolutely fantastic. I love this scent. It is fresh, clean, yet comforting and cozy at the same time. It's just perfect for December and January. And I could even see melting this like into spring, especially when you have those cooler nights of spring. It's just wonderful. Absolutely love it. The Strength and Throw was an 8 for 1 coin split between 2 warmers. I do half a coin in my 24-watt hot plate warmer, half a coin in my 20-watt hot plate warmer, and the Strength and Throw was an 8 between those 2 warmers. I love this one. I finished this melt in Goose Creek's Winter Splendor. Again, I love that photo that they have there. This is similar to Bath & Body Works Winter. Not the same, but like definitely they're cousins, maybe even brothers or sisters. This one though is spicier, not hot spicy, but like a warmer spicier. And it seems to have more of that cedar and holly berries kind of pine notes and less of like the citrusy notes of winter. Really, really enjoyed this one a lot. The Strength and Throw is about an 8.5 for 2 cubes in my bulb warmer. I finished this clam in Barrett Wax Craft Spearmint Supreme. This one is spearmint, watery fern, oak moss, and blue sugar. A complex and earthy scent. For me, this one came across as somewhat masculine, like sort of like a masculine type soap, but it wasn't my personal favorite. But if you like those type of scents, I think you'd like it. The Strength and Throw is about a 7.5 for 1 cube in my bulb warmer. I finished this Test Melt in Destination Wax's Butternut Pumpkin. I was just craving a little bit of a fall vibe for some reason one night, so I melted this. A wonderful, creamy, and spicy pumpkin scent. Very, very nice. The Strength and Throw was about a 5.5 for this one melt in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this melt in the Bathing Gardens Lavender Meringue Mint. This is a creamy, slightly sweeter lavender scent mixed with a minty, fluffy marshmallow scent, and it also has a nice amount of like a sugary sweetness. Really, really wonderful blend. It was like a spa-like kind of lavender and that cooling mint mixed with that sweet and fluffy marshmallow. It was just fantastic. It's sort of bordered between this very spa-like scent and then a slightly edible vibe as well because I think of the marshmallow. Really like this one. The Strength and Throw is about a 5.5 for the shape in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this melt in Purple Fox's Peppermint Butler. This is peppermint cream with sweet candy canes. This was a creamy yet mentholated sinus opening peppermint. Just a slight sweetness. Definitely heavier on that, you know, sinus opening kind of true peppermint scent and just a little bit of that sort of sweet and creamy candy cane note. The Strength and Throw is about a 7 for a small chunk in my Scentsy Accord warmer. I finished this melt in the Bathing Gardens Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. This is deep spice, cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, and black pepper. I really enjoyed this one. It was a wonderful, warmy and cozy spice blend. The clove was quite dominant and just very warming. And then that black pepper added to this was very nice and quite like a surprising addition to this kind of blend. The Strength and Throw was a 6 for the shape in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this clam in the Super Tarts White Walkers. This is spearmint, peppermint, fresh mint leaf, and vanilla bean Noel. This was in my top 17 scents of 2017, and I still absolutely adore this scent. It is one of my favorite scents from Super Tarts. It is just a wonderful, creamy, minty, vanilla blend, and I love it. I think the fresh mint leaf in this is what sets it apart from a lot of the other blends that I've mentioned, and it's just super creamy, and I absolutely love it. The Strength and Throw is about a 7.5 for 2 cubes in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I do find that this isn't as strong as some of the other Super Tart scents, which I don't mind personally, but so I use 2 cubes and I get adequate Strength and Throw. Really love this one a lot. I finished this clam in the Bathing Gardens Peppermint Whipped Cream. This is iced peppermint with marshmallow, vanilla, and whipped cream. This one is a very heavy sinus opening, very, very mentholated peppermint, just a slight marshmallow whipped cream kind of vibe, but definitely more of that sinus opening mentholated peppermint more than anything else. The Strength and Throw was about a 6.5 for 1 cube in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this shape in Zeep's Baby It's Cold Outside. It is fresh snow and peppermint. This is a very fresh scent. It almost has this kind of ozone notes and just a bit of peppermint, more fresh and ozone than peppermint. Very nice for January especially. The Strength and Throw is about a 7 for a small chunk in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this shape in Zeep's Sleigh Ride. This is marshmallow and peppermint and pine trees. This is definitely a lot more of that creamy peppermint, a sweeter peppermint, not so much like a mentholated sinus opening peppermint, but a creamier peppermint. And then the pine definitely comes through, but it's definitely on the back end. It's not the dominant note. The strength and throw is about a 6.5 for a small chunk in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. The next note I finished is the Bathing Gardens Pearls of Winter. This one was really, really nice. This is red apples, strawberries, pink cotton candy, and raspberry ice. I would say the strawberry, raspberry ice, and cotton candy were the dominant notes. It was very, very fruity, but also very pretty without being powdery or perfumey, and I really enjoyed it. The strength and throw is about a 7.5 for the shape in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished the Scent Shot in Destination Wax's Winter's Eve. This is a winter evening curled up by the crackling fireplace, balsam, cedar, and wood smoke. This one was very heavy on the wood smoke, in my opinion. It sort of gave me that liquid smoke kind of vibe, more so than like an actual fireside vibe. It was a bit too heavy and smoky for my personal taste, but I can see this one being quite cozy for like really cold weather. I think when I melted this, I was just kind of over these kind of scents, so I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I would have maybe if I had melted it in December. The strength and throw is about a 7.5 for half of the Scent Shot in my 24-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this Goose Creek Melt in Frozen in Time. This is vanilla, peppermint, citrus, and to me it has this kind of body care kind of vibe to it. Not like Twisted Peppermint, but there is this sort of underlying sort of perfumed body care kind of note that comes out versus like being an authentic like peppermint and vanilla scent. It definitely had some other notes like musk or something like that in the background that I picked up. Not my personal favorite. The strength and throw is about a 6.5 for 2 cubes in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this Goose Creek Milk and Welcome Frosty. How cute is that label? I love it. This one is vanilla, buttercream, a slight spice, a little bit of like coconut, and it sort of reminded me of like, this is Goose Creek's version of Bath and Body Works Vanilla Snowflake. It was sort of this complex vanilla wintry kind of scent, more vanilla though than like wintry. I actually really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, this was a dark blue dye, and I did get some of that dark blue dye wax smell that I'm quite sensitive to, so I wish they had not dyed it that color, but I did enjoy the scent. The strength and throw is about a 7 for 2 cubes in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this Goose Creek Melt in Christmas Cakes. This one is very buttery, almost praline type notes, in addition to that sort of frosting and cake notes that you would expect. But that buttery note and that almost praline kind of note sets it apart from other like bakery cake scents that I've smelled. I quite enjoyed it. The strength and throw was about a 7 for 2 cubes in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. Unfortunately, it didn't last very long. It only lasted about 5 or 6 hours for some reason, and typically I get about at least 8 hours for my Goose Creek Melts. This one also stained my warmers quite a bit, so I wasn't a huge fan of that. I finished this Goose Creek Melt in Peppermint Whip. This one is peppermint, vanilla, candy cane sugar, and whipped cream. You get a lot of that creamy vanilla whipped cream kind of vibe and that sweetened candy cane note. It's sort of similar to Bath and Body Works Crushed Candy Cane, except this one has a lot more of that creamy whipped cream, whereas Crushed Candy Cane is just the candy cane itself. It does actually smell like this picture here. I enjoyed it and thought it was very nice. The strength and throw is about a 7 for 2 cubes in our 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this Scent Shot in Destination Wax's Vanilla Wafers. This is buttery vanilla wafer cookies. This one is so yummy. Definitely get that butteriness, which I think sets this one apart from a lot of other vanilla bakery scents. I've definitely found that I like a buttery aspect to some of my bakery scents. It definitely gives you this sort of like melt in your mouth quality to this scent that some other bakery scents don't have. It was delicious. I could definitely see this one also being a great blender with other scents. The strength and throw was about a 6 for half of the Scent Shot in my 24-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this Chunk Muffin in RoseGirls Carbs Noel. This one is donuts, bread, cookies, and vanilla bean Noel, and this one is amazing and absolutely delicious as well. So good. When I smelled it on cold sniff, it was like, okay, but what I found about a lot of these bakery type blends is when you melt them, that's when you really get all of the goodness, and you get that bread note, which makes itself known. I think that is what kind of sets it apart, but you also get that, you know, bakery sweetness that you would expect from like cookies and vanilla, and you get that really yummy vibe that you get from vanilla bean Noel, and it was just really excellent. The strength and throw is about a 7.5 for a small chunk in my Scentsy Accord Warmer, and I would definitely be getting this one again. I finished this 2 little pie shapes in the Bathing Gardens Snowberry Pie. This one is sweet cranberry relish, winter berries, holly berry, and red currant. It was tart, sweet, and fruity. I really like the little shapes, but it wasn't my personal favorite as far as fragrance, and which is odd because typically I like anything with red currants and cranberry and stuff like that, but it wasn't my favorite for some reason. The strength and throw is about an 8 for one of the pie slices in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished these 2 cinnamon roll shapes in the Bathing Gardens Buttermint Cinnamon Rolls. This one is sweet vanilla, icy peppermint, buttery sweets, and the richest cinnamon roll drizzled with cream cheese icing. This one smelled like everything I just read. You got that ooey gooey cinnamon roll note, but then you also got that blast of extra peppermint, and it was really, really nice. I did enjoy it. It was also quite strong. It was an 8.5, maybe even a 9 for one full cinnamon roll in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this shape in Zeep's Rockefeller Center. This is pine cones, vanilla, fir trees, and sandalwood. This one is a lot of the pine and fir and the sandalwood. I would say about 50% pine and fir and 50% sandalwood and vanilla. I think for me, the sandalwood was a bit off-putting. I'm not a huge fan of sandalwood and when it's that dominant of a note. So it was an interesting scent, but not my personal favorite. The strength and throw was about a 7 in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished this 4-pack block in Destination Wax's Wine Cellar. Love the scent. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I love the scent in candle form, and this is a very close dupe to the Bath & Body Works scent. This one is slightly more sweet than the Bath & Body Works scent, and I also feel like this one has a little bit more patchouli than the Bath & Body Works scent, but otherwise a very spot on dupe. Really fantastic. The strength and throw is about an 8.5 for 2/3 of the cube in my 20-watt hot plate warmer, and then I also melted it in my bulb warmer, and it was about 7.5 for half of the cube, so it's quite strong. Really enjoyed this one. I finished this clam in Barrett Wax Craft Sinus Soother. This one is like Vicks Vapor Rub type, very sinus opening and relieving, mentholated. The strength and throw is about a 6.5 for 1 cube in my bulb warmer. I finished these cute shapes in Zeep's Peppermint Candy. This is sweet peppermint and vanilla cream. The vanilla cream really comes through very, very nicely in this blend, and it balances out that peppermint. So I really enjoyed this one a lot more than I thought I would. I think because of that vanilla cream, it sort of set it apart from a lot of these other peppermint scents that I melted this month. The strength and throw was about a 7.5 for a small shape in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I melted this little sheet in Barrett Wax Craft Spearmint and Toasted Marshmallow. This one is exactly like it sounds, a creamy sweet marshmallow scent. That slight toasty vibe. I enjoyed it. The strength and throw is about a 7.5 for a small chunk in my bulb warmer. I finished this clam in Super Tarts Rosalie. This is twisted peppermint and coconut cream pie, and also definitely get some marshmallow in there. The coconut cream balances out that peppermint very nicely, and the marshmallow comes through and it adds a nice fluffy sweetness to it. It does remind me of that RoseGirls scent, Toasted Peppermint Mallow, the one that is really popular for her. It reminds me of that scent a lot. Not exact, but definitely like Super Tarts version of that scent. The strength and throw is about a 7.5 for 1 cube in my bulb warmer, and I would definitely get this one again. I melted this sample of Destination Wax's Black Cedar and Juniper. This is a Jo Malone type, cedar, citrus, florals, and juniper. This scent is not for me. It definitely came across as sort of this like mature lady perfume, which I like in certain cases, but I just didn't like this particular blend. It was quite heavy for me. It was strong, however. The strength and throw is about an 8.5 for the mini cake in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. I finished the scent shot in Empire Alchemy Set Adrift on a Memory Bliss, which just take me back to the 90s. PM Dawn, hello, love that song. This one is Deep Sea Slumber, Twisted Peppermint, and Campfire Marshmallow. A very nice blend, very relaxing. It wasn't super strong though. It was about a strength and throw, about a 5 for a third of the scent shot in my 20-watt hot plate warmer. So I wish it was stronger. I would probably get it again though and do like a half of the scent shot and see if that helped the strength and throw a bit. But I did like the scent itself. And lastly, I finished the Scentsy Clam and Eskimo Kiss. This one is a yearly scent for me that I melt every year for like several years now. I love it. It is a soft, romantic kind of scent, fruity, sweet, and even a little bit minty. Sort of has this perfumed blackberry in the background. I really enjoy it. The strength and throw is about an 8 for 2 cubes in my Scentsy bulb warmer. Okie dokie, that is all of the wax melts that I finished in January. Whew, that was a lot. It was really a great smelling month. If you're only here for the wax melts, thank you so much for watching, and I will rearrange and move right into the candles. I am happy with the number of candles that I finished last month. Mostly minty scents, but also a few vanilla and sort of just random scents that I wanted to melt. I actually finished 2 boxes of tea lights last month. I finished a box of Yankee Candles Lavender Vanilla. Love this scent, perfect for relaxing and bath time. And then I also finished a box of the All Is Bright, which is for this grapefruit, sparkling, refreshing scent. Great for the beginning of January. I know I've mentioned this a lot, but I do really enjoy their tea light. I feel like they put out a nice amount of fragrance, and I will continue to repurchase them. The first candle I finished is Bath & Body Works White Mint Latte. This one is a fresh peppermint, white chocolate, and whipped milk. I really enjoyed this scent. It smells to me like a peppermint latte. You get this creamy, sweet peppermint, this distinct kind of latte coffee note, and like this underlying amount of like milk chocolate or even white chocolate. The coffee isn't super dominant, but it is present and there, and it just really comes together nicely. The strength and throw is about an 8.5, so quite strong. The burn was good. The first 2/3 of the candle, it looks like a mess, but it actually was fine the first 2/3. Then after the 2/3 mark, it got really small, like puny type wicks, and in the last third of the burn, the wax discolored, but luckily that didn't affect the smell itself. And it actually still threw, even though the wicks were smaller. I'd never had to cotton ball it, but it was just slower to pull out. It was cold in my house, so I did keep it in a candle sleeve to try to help like keep the heat in. So that may have had an effect, but it still burned itself out, and it still had a nice throw. So even though it struggled the last third, it still performed well in the other areas. So I was still happy with that. I would definitely repurchase this scent because I enjoy it. I finished this little candle in Super Tarts, the Family Stone. This was a candle that I received as part of the Advent calendar last year, and I thought, let me go ahead and just burn this. The scent is really nice. This is creamy cinnamon vanilla bean kind of scent. Unfortunately, I couldn't smell the scent at all, and it was a fire hazard. You can see it didn't even burn down all the way, and then like the wick moved and it started burning on the side there. Luckily, I was in the same room with the candle. I was paying attention to it. I was able to put it out and extinguish it, but I wasn't going to burn that again because it was just not really safe to burn. So just be careful if you maybe had one of these from the Advent calendar last year. Definitely keep your eye on this one as it burns if you choose to burn it. The next candle I finished is Bath & Body Works Cranberry Pear Bellini. This one is fizzy pear nectar, sparkling red cranberries, lush apricot, and tart black currant. I really enjoyed the scent. This one is tart, sweet, juicy, slightly effervescent, not like fizzy, but there is this like bubbly quality to this one. Love it. I love that balance of the tartness and the sweetness. The strength and throw is about an 8.5, and the burn was pretty good. There was some sooty, not bad at all though. Otherwise fine, no puny wicks. I did trim the wicks just a little bit before each burn. The wax didn't even discolor that much. As you can see, it was really fantastic. Sometimes I have people ask me like, well, how do your Bath & Body Works candles burn so well? You seem to have like better luck than most. And one of the tips that I can say is that I do only burn my candles for like 3 to 4 hours at a time, depending on the candles. Sometimes it's a bit of a slower burn. I can burn it longer. I do try to follow what they recommend and only burn it for like 3 to 4 hours at a time. And I think that does help me get better burns overall. But anyway, love this scent. Definitely will repurchase it. I'm glad I have backups. I also finished Bath & Body Works Champagne Toast, another sort of staple for the beginning of January for me. Champagne Toast just says made with citrus and orange essential oils with notes of bubbly champagne and sparkling berries. This one is very sweet and juicy. It's a classic New Year's Eve, New Year's Day scent for me. The strength and throw is about a 7.5. The burn was good. Again, some sooting, especially right there on the side you can see, but otherwise no issues whatsoever. I think this is probably about the best burn of Champagne Toast that I've had in several years, so quite impressed with that. The wax did start to discolor the last 1/3 of the candle at the very end, but it didn't change the scent at all. You can kind of see it's a little bit murky, but still you can tell that it was pink at some point, so that's pretty good. Very impressed with this burn of this candle. We'll continue to get Champagne Toast every year. For me, again, it's just a staple that I love to burn in January. I finished this Bath & Body Works Scent and Berry Vanilla Bean. This one is winter berries, ruby red pomegranate, lush vanilla bean, and a twist of mandarin. And man, I really hope and keep my fingers crossed that they're going to bring this scent back again. This one came out in 2016, and I ended up burning it, loving it, and then stocking up on it. I found a store that had like 6 or 7 of them still in stock, and I like grabbed them all. So I've been burning one every year for I guess the past 3 years now, and so I'm down to my last 2, so I really need them to go ahead and bring it back. This one is tart and tangy berry scent with this sweet vanilla. It's very mouth watering, and that little bit of like tart tangy kind of sourness to it I love. The strength and throw is about an 8, 8.5. Great burn, no issues whatsoever, very minimal sooting, and just an all-around fantastic candle. I really hope they bring this one back. I finished this Bath & Body Works candle in crushed candy cane. I love the labels they used this year. Super cute. The notes of this are crunchy peppermint and white sugar crystals. This smells like a very authentic candy cane, a sweetened peppermint candy cane. The strength and throw is about a 5.5, so it was not super strong, especially for a Bath & Body Works candle. I typically expect that I'm going to get about a 7, 7.5 medium high strength and throw at the very least. So this one was adequate comparing it to other candle brands, but not as strong as most Bath & Body Works candles. The burn was okay. It looks actually pretty clean in there, but it was slow to pull out throughout the entirety of the candle. I did keep it in a sleeve just to kind of help conduct some of that heat. I did have to cotton ball this candle once in the middle. Don't trim the wicks on this one. I did not trim the wicks, and they were just sort of small. They didn't need to be trimmed. The last 1/4 of the candle, the wax did start to discolor. You can kind of see it there slightly, and it did change the scent the last 1/4. This scent overall was okay, but it's really just probably a one and done for me. I do have the crushed candy cane in the pink White Barn Core packaging, so I'm going to keep that one. If you did burn the White Barn Core packaging of this, let me know if you had better performance. I finished this Homeworx Mintalicious chocolate chip. I think this packaging is cute. I love the scalloped edge. The notes are iced peppermint, crushed white chocolate, crystallized sugar, and whipped cream. This is one of the 3-wick candles. The scent is a very creamy, minty scent. There is this sweetened vanilla that sort of reminds you of like an ice cream base, and it definitely has this cooling, refreshing kind of palate cleansing mint, which is really nice. This chocolate in this is quite subtle. I do feel like it is there, but it isn't dominant, which I liked. This one was a bit light, which was disappointing. The strength and throw is about a 4, 4.5, so less than medium. The burn also gave me issues. It was very sooty. You can see there on the edge. It was quite sooty. There were times that I would go in and it was just like little puff balls coming off of the wick, so I didn't like that. It was very, very large flames, very large mushroom tops. It was definitely one that I had to keep an eye on while it was burning. At one point, I had let it burn for maybe 3 hours, and it set my fire alarm off because of how much it was sooting. So I burn a lot of candles and that doesn't happen. So if you have this one still in your collection, definitely keep your eye on this one. Do not let it burn too long. Keep the wicks trimmed for sure. I would definitely say 3 hours max burn time, maybe even shorter than that. The burn itself was fine. No puny wicks, no cotton balling. It pulled out quickly because it was a faster burner. If this was still available, I don't think I would repurchase it. I finished this Bath & Body Works candle in mint chocolate. The notes are sweet peppermint, creamy vanilla bean, decadent chocolate, and handmade marshmallow. This one is a dark, bitter mint chocolate scent. I've actually done a review of this one before on my channel from like a couple years ago. It definitely is different than a lot of these other mint scents because it does have this bitterness to it. It's not like a creamy, sweet milk chocolate. It's definitely a bitter, dark chocolate. The strength and throw is about a 6.5, 7. The burn was okay. I did have to cotton ball this once about the halfway point. It was just the wicks had gotten too small. I did not trim the wicks. You can kind of see how tiny and small those wicks are. So be very careful with these wicks. I accidentally touched one with my lighter and it just kind of broke. They're very fragile. Toward the end of the scent, the wax did get a bit icky and it kind of lost its scent and just kind of smelling that like paraffin burning that you get with these candles once all the oils have burned off. The scent was overall just weakened, but not my particular favorite scent. I mean, I like it okay, but it's not one that I feel the need to like have backups of or anything like that. The next scent I finished is Bath & Body Works Vanilla Snowflake. I have to take a moment, look at this label. It is so adorable. Whoever did these labels at Bath & Body Works, kudos, because they are fantastic. I just love them. I love this scent. It's a wonderful vanilla scent, creamy and cozy, sort of complex. That touch of coconut I think sets it apart, even though you don't really smell the coconut per se when it's burning. The notes are frozen vanilla, ice fir needles, mint leaf, and coconut flakes. Really, really love this scent. Typically, this is not a scent that I get a great performance out of. This particular one, the strength and throw is about a 6.5, 7. The burn was decent, better than I expected, but I mean, not good. I did have to cotton ball this one time when it was about under the halfway mark because it just didn't want to pull out properly. Don't trim the wicks on this one because they just don't really need it. And the couple times where I felt like I could trim the wicks just a little bit, just make sure you're very, very careful. Don't over trim them. I definitely kept this in a sleeve or hurricane the entire time. It is one of the best burning vanilla snowflakes I've had in years. Typically, I can't even finish the candle. I'll maybe get to about this point and it's done. This one actually went all the way to the bottom and still had scent and burned itself out. So for that, I was impressed. This one does have struggles, but for me, I feel like the scent's worth it. And the label was definitely worth it for this year's version. I finished this Homeworx candle in chocolate mint truffle. I really think this packaging is cute as well with a scalloped lid. The notes on this one are chocolate, cocoa, cool peppermint, and pistachio. The scent was just okay to me. It did smell chocolatey and minty, more chocolatey than mint in my opinion, but it didn't stand out as like something new and unique, so it was just okay. The strength and throw was about a 6. But it did sort of wax and wane throughout the life of the candle. It kind of started off strong and then it decreased in strength and throw from there. And the burn was okay, but not good. From the very first couple burns, it was fine. I was like, okay, this one's pretty good. And then about a little less around this part, I guess about the 1/3 range, through about the 2/3 mark, it was slower to pull out. Definitely didn't trim my wicks. And if I did, I was very, very careful not to over trim, just maybe getting off the tiny little mushroom balls at the top because I don't like when those pop and soot everywhere, so I'm not going to leave those on there. I did keep it in a hurricane the entire time. I did have to cotton ball it once in the middle of the candle. In the last half of the candle, the scent definitely diminished. Like right now, I smell this and I can't smell anything. It just smells like burnt paraffin. So I wasn't a fan of that. And actually, there's quite a bit of wax left here. It probably would have had another burn or so, but you can see where it didn't want to pull out here at the very end. And there was just really no scent left, so there was no point in me continuing it. So I just put it out and called it a day. This is definitely not one that I would personally repurchase. The next candle I finished is Bath & Body Works Blue Winter Sky. This one says made with peppermint and eucalyptus essential oils with notes of oak and cedar wood. This one is very, very similar to Summer Terrace and Blue Sage and Mint, but this one definitely has this cooling peppermint note that the other ones lack. Summer Terrace has this extra watery crispness that this one doesn't have. I think this one's actually closer to Blue Sage and Mint than Summer Terrace, but with the peppermint. So they are all slightly different, but very close cousins or even maybe siblings. The strength and throw on this one was a 7.5, 8. A good burn, no issues whatsoever. A tiny bit sooty, but not bad. It was like a medium fast burner. Did trim the wicks on this one, got the mushroom tops off, and it was clean, burned down to the bottom, no issues whatsoever. If all candles could perform this well, that would be fabulous. Really enjoyed this one and would definitely recommend it. And the last candle I finished in January is Homeworx Snow Day. I really love this label. I love the added sparkling bit to the lid, and I think the label is just really pretty. The notes are winter mint, clove leaf, sparkling bergamot, crushed fir needle, and sugared musk. I really enjoyed this scent a lot. This one is a pine and minty scent. It is not exactly like Bath & Body Works Snow Day. I do still have Snow Day, and I compared them side by side. They would definitely be in the same family, but they're not an exact dupe of one another, at least in my opinion. This scent has more pine than mint. You get a nice amount of that warming clove, and you do get like hints of that kind of sharp bergamot, that sort of citrusy note that comes through. And it was just overall a fantastic scent. Really enjoyed it. The strength and throw was a 7.5, very solid strength and throw, medium high, and the burn was very solid. This is probably the best 4-wick candle that I've burned so far from Homeworx. I did trim the wicks because there were tiny mushroom tops, and I very, very carefully trimmed the wicks not to over trim them. The wicks are fragile, so I have these tiny scissors that I use to trim the mushroom tops off. But be careful, because I could definitely see this going in the wrong direction. If you were to over trim it, then you could cause puny wicks potentially. So I cannot emphasize enough that you have to very, very carefully trim these wicks if you're going to get the mushroom tops off, because the wicks are very, very thin. I did keep it in a sleeve in a hurricane the entire time. I did not have to cotton ball it. It never got puny wicks. It did have some sooting, and you can see where there's sort of some soot on the wax itself, but it wasn't horrible. It did burn itself out. I would say that this was not as good as his 3 wicks as far as performance, but the candle itself was definitely stronger, so I definitely appreciated that. But this is definitely better than any of the 4 wicks I've burnt thus far. So this particular scent is sold out, but if I were to find it, I definitely would repurchase it because I did enjoy it that much. Okie dokie, that is it. That is all of the candles and wax and items that I used in January 2019. Let me know in the comments below what you melted and burned last month. Let me know what your favorites were for January. I do really always love to hear what your favorites were, because so many times you'll tell me what your favorites are, and maybe it's something I haven't tried, and so I put it on my list to try in the future. If you watch this video in its entirety, the wax melt and the candles, please leave me a blue heart or blue symbol of some sort below. I think that's always a fun fun way to like see you and just at least interact with you a little bit. Thank you as always for all of your support. If you like this video or found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you like to see other videos like this, please subscribe. I do a monthly empties video as well as hauls, reviews of candles, wax, etc. Thank you so much for all of your support as always. I greatly appreciate you all. I hope you have a great rest of your day and a fabulous February. Bye.